I want to talk about the story in Matthew 25, those about the maidens and also those with the Talantons. A Talanton is worth a lot of money. I think it's like 20 years worth of his salary, 20 years of pay or something. It's like an inheritance amount. So first let's start with the bride story. It says in Matthew 25, in the reign of heaven shall be compared to 10 maidens who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise and 5 foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their containers with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom took time, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, See, the bridegroom is coming, go out to meet him. Then all those maidens rose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us of your oil, because our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, No, indeed, there would not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. And later the other maidens also came, saying, Adonai, Adonai, open up for us. But he answered, saying, Truly, I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of God is coming. Now let's move on to the other story. For it is like a man going from home, who called his own servants, and delivered his possessions to them. And to one he gave 5 talenten, and to another 2, and to another 1, to each according to his own ability, and went from home. And he who had received the 5 talenten went and worked with them, and made another 5 talenten. In the same way he with the 2 also, he gained 2 more. But he who had received the 1 talent went away and dug in the ground, and hid the silver of his master. And after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talenten came and brought 5 other talenten, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talenten. See, I have gained 5 more talenten besides them. And his master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You were trustworthy over a little. I shall put you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. Then he who had received 2 talenten came and said, Master, you delivered to me 2 talenten. See, I have gained 2 more talenten besides them. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You were trustworthy over a little. I shall put you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And the one who had received the 1 talenten also came and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And being afraid, I went and hid your talenten in the ground. See, you have what is yours. And his master answering said to him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. And you should have put my silver with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Therefore take away the talenten from him, and give to him who possesses 10 talenten. For to everyone who possesses, more shall be given, and he shall have overflowingly. But from him who does not possess, even what he possesses shall be taken away. And throw the worthless servant out into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So when I look at these stories, they're definitely related, and they definitely tell it in a different manner. The bride story really hits me, of course, because, I'm a woman, and I started thinking about this. They all knew who their bridegroom was. They all knew where he was going, and they all went on the journey. And not only that, they all had oil. Now, this story with God can reveal many different things, and to many people might interpret this differently. But my interpretation, the oil is part of the Holy Spirit. It's, having oil, they're ready for their bridegroom. They know who their master was when they say, Adonai, Adonai, open up for us. They knew who their master was. But they had just enough oil to light their lamp, just enough. And they went on the journey, they went on the trip, but they were being foolish. Now the wise ones, they had oil to light the lamps, but they knew that they were going to need more to have their lamps lit so they wouldn't be out when the bridegroom would come. So they actually brought along containers, it says here. They brought along, it says, but the wise took oil in their containers with their lamps. So you're bringing jugs of oil. That is not light. Oil can be pretty heavy if you're carrying extra oil. So they went on this long journey to meet their bridegroom, and they knew, I'm going to be prepared. I'm bringing extra oil. I'm bringing these containers. I'm going to make sure I'm good. And then when the time came and the minuscule amount of oil that the foolish ones had gone out, or almost out, and they knew they were in trouble, they tried to take the oil from the wise. Well, the wise had already brought it. The wise had done the work. They had already planned ahead. They were prepared. And they did not want to risk being out. They were willing to take the extra jugs with them, willing to carry the extra weight, willing to go the extra mile. They wanted to be there, no matter what, for the bridegroom when he arrived. So, of course, they weren't going to share. So they told them to go and get the other oil. So the foolish had no choice but to go and leave and get oil. And then when they came back, the bridegroom had already arrived and the door was shut. When he says, I never knew you. Why did he say, I never knew you? Well, if you're a bridegroom and you've got this bride and you know that she should be devoted to you, but yet she's doing the minimal amount. She's going where she should go, but she's not making sure she's ready for you. She's not making sure that she has the oil enough to last for you. That really kind of says how she really honestly feels, that she's not committed near as much as the wise maidens. She's wanting to get by with bare minimum and it be fine. So she honestly doesn't deserve the bridegroom, or they didn't deserve the bridegroom. And they're saying Adonai, but do they really believe that he's their master? So next on to the story with the Talantons, and this one's much more harsh. What I find interesting, first of all, is that each one was given according to his own ability. So the master knew that they weren't all required to earn, they weren't all given 5 talentons, which is the one that is given the most. They were given according to their own ability. So I feel God gives each one of us according to our own ability. And he gave them a lot of money and trusted with them because he knew that they could handle it. So even the person who was given the 1 talenton, he knew that that was his ability, that he could deal with the 1 talenton. Even though it was the least amount, he knew that this guy could be entrusted, and he gave him a chance, saying, go ahead, I trust you with this. And the 5 talenton and the 2 talenton persons, they didn't complain. They went right to it, followed what their master had done, and earned. We don't know exactly how they earned, but they actually doubled each of their original investment. And they got the same reward. The one who was given a lot was also the same amount who was given was also given, they were given the same compliment. Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You were trustworthy over little. I shall put you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. So they're each given. There you go. Now the one who had the extra, was given the extra, was the one who had earned the most, I think, because they were the most trustworthy and could be handled to turn over the most profit. Now, the interesting thing about the person with the 1 talenton is the way that he actually approaches and speaks to the master. He says, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. Being afraid, I went and hid your talent in the ground, so you have what is yours. It's interesting because he says, I knew you to be a hard man. Why would you say that to your master? It's almost disrespectful. Reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. It's almost saying, I know you do what is wrong. And almost accusing the master of doing wrong and being very rude with the way that he responds. Saying, you don't deserve to almost have things. You don't deserve to have interest on what you have given me. He was basically accusing the master of stealing and scattering, reaping where he had not sown. So basically, like stealing, gathering where he had not gathered seed. I feel like he's almost either saying you're doing wrong, or you should be doing the work yourself. One or the other. But it's very disrespectful, and you could tell he has no respect for this guy, for his master. And the master had given it a chance. He knew that the one guy might be not as able, so he gave him less, but he still gave him a chance. But then this is how the guy responds. And he says, see, you have what is yours. Almost as if you got what you had back, there you go. Like, I should be let off the hook. And I'm not sure if that's the reason he says this more disrespectful stuff in the beginning, because he's trying to have an excuse. But it just seems to me like there was no respect, and he didn't feel obligated to even try. He hid it in the ground. Now, this is an investment. He completely forgot about it. He hid it in the ground, hid it away, out of sight, out of mind. As if, nope, I'm not going to do anything. And then the master says, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown. So maybe that is true. And gather where I have not scattered seed. So he's saying, you knew me to do these things. You knew me to be a hard man. You know I would have repercussions for your actions. And then he says, then you should have put my silver with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. So he's saying, at the bare minimum, you could have tried to earn interest, just keeping it in the bank, not even hiding it in a hole in the ground, but at least having it in the bank. So you were, in a way, trying to punish me. You were trying to almost take revenge. At least that's what I look at it as if he was like almost trying to take revenge on the master. Saying, I know you to be a hard man, and here you have back what is yours. Why would you say that statement knowing he was such a way and have nothing to show for it? Nothing so he wouldn't be upset with you. And you obviously are knowing what he would do, knowing that he is a hard man is what you're saying, but yet you're not trying at all. So when I'm looking at these stories combined, it says to me this. The brides, the maidens, had oil. Now that is maybe the Holy Spirit. And that is maybe what this Talanton represents. Maybe the Talanton represents the Holy Spirit. God entrusts us with the Holy Spirit. God entrusts us with doing good, spreading the gospel, things like that. And I feel like he's saying maybe even our gifts that he's given us. I'm not exactly sure what he's meaning per se, but he has given us this. He has given us something, and he wants us to do something with it. Or like the brides, the oil, the Holy Spirit, I feel is the Holy Spirit. The brides were foolish and didn't carry the jugs. This Talanton guy dug a hole and put it in the ground and didn't even try to even earn interest. He might not have earned double, but he would have at least earned something. So what does this tell us? I think it honestly means that with the gifts, the Holy Spirit, what God has given us, what he's particularly saying to us individually, we need to use that for his honor and glory. We should not be doing the bare minimum, and we should not be forgetting about what gifts God has been giving to us. We should not be forgetting God entrusted us and he's going to come back. We want to have something to show for it. We want to be able to be there at the door. We want to be able to have enough oil in our souls. We want to have enough oil in our hearts, in our lamps, the light of the world. We want to be able to be lit enough that our bridegroom will see us. We want to bring honor and glory to him. We want to bring double our investment to him. And if not, at least the bare minimum of interest, something, earn something back. Apparently the maidens' lamps were pretty much almost out. We don't want to have the rapture come or our death and our lamps are basically out. We've earned absolutely nothing with the gifts that God has given us. We want to have something to show for God. And I know salvation is not about works. But if we dwell with God and we dwell and live for God, and we live for Jesus every day, putting him first, then we're going to want to bring stuff back. We're going to want to share Jesus with others. We're going to want to have the love that Jesus has given us. We're going to want to share it. We're going to want to give. We're going to want to be better people. If we put Jesus first and have him be the center of everything that we are and do, we're going to be working for him because we want to. We're going to be putting him first. And everything about us and what we say and think and act and do is going to be based upon Jesus. And we're going to earn Talentons. We're going to have extra oil in our souls. We're going to be able to have the light shine in us and crowns to give back to Jesus. It says there will be a crown for those who love him, who are waiting for his appearing. We should be earnestly wanting Jesus to come back and earnestly waiting for him, wanting him, desiring him to come back, and for us to be forever with the Lord. And it's a really sad story, both of these, because they were shut out, both of them. The maidens were outside the door and shut out, and he said, "Truly I say to you, I do not know you." And then with this person with the talenton, the master said, "Throw the worthless servant out into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Did he not have any light in his soul? Maybe he wasn't even truly saved. I don't know. I mean, it was his master. So if the circumstance is Jesus is always our master, and when we're saved, we are under him. So maybe he is saved, but chose to be rebellious. I do feel like both of these situations are for the saved people. Maidens were saved because they knew who the master was. They had oil in their lamps, and they were going out to meet the bridegroom. This servant, he was given a talenton by his master, and it was his master, so I believe he was also in this situation saved. But he squandered that. Not squandered it, but he did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing. So that I think we just need to personally reflect on what God is saying is our talenton, and what God is saying is the oil in our lamps. And we need to not do it in works, because it's not about works. But I do feel it's how we depend and trust on God and how we let Him lead our lives and us putting Him first. We need to make Him Lord and Master of our entire lives and trust Him. And the belief is key. We have to trust and believe, because there will be no fruit if we keep going around and not trusting Him. So look into this yourself and figure out what you feel the Talanton and the oil represent to you. And what God may be saying in your life is that, and what you need to be doing with it. And pray to God that you are not like the foolish maidens or like the one talented servant. And have Him, and pray that He will say to you, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master."